Broadcasting to you on WNN 1470 AM and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show.
All hands back at battle station.
Tom Trento heads United West, a group that says it defends Western civilization against the onslaught of Islam.
You know, I never get tired of that show opening. Sometimes I go to the youtube.com/United West archives and just play the beginning of the show over and over again. And also I like to read the comments on there. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is CJ. You're watching TrentoVision.tv and listening to us on WNN 1470 AM. I am substituting for the host of our show, Mr. Tom Trento.
Who's that?
Who is he and where is he? I think I'm going to have to call him the Caped Crusader from now on because he's putting on his magical cape and saving us from evil and corruption somewhere
I'll tell
in
you
the
what,
world.
the rest of the week, he's not only saving us from evil and corruption, but he should be helping save our Zionist friends from death and destruction.
Okay, so obviously he's a very busy man and he needed an assistant with him on the road this time. So he took his faithful second banana caped crusader, J. Mark Campbell, our fearless, intrepid director, producer, and all-around good guy. Mark put on his cape and he's traveling with Tom also. So they're kind of like Batman and Robin on the road here. And who does that leave? That leaves producer Damon Rosen.
Hello.
Hello, Damon. And me, CJ. And we might have some other visits to the studio today, but we can never exactly be sure who's going to come through those doors.
And then we also have a special guest.
Well, we do, but before we get to telling about our special guest, I have to tell you, it's kind of like having all these people come through the doors, it kind of makes it feel like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or something, or Captain Kangaroo, knock, 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 who's coming, who's coming, who's going to be with us today? And you have to listen and watch to find out who showed up to the show today. Well, today is Tuesday, and it's 11/12/13. Isn't that exciting?
Cool.
November 12th, 2013. And besides being really cute that it's 11/12/13, that means for all you people who are concerned listeners and viewers, you have less than a year to get your act together before the 2014 elections. And if you're watching and listening to this show, then you know there's a lot of good reasons why you need to pay attention and why you need to get your act together and why we need to, we got a lot of work to do and we now have less than a year to do it. So 11/12/13, the day after Veterans Day, and we were really, really blessed and privileged yesterday to have as our guest and co-host Mr. Mort Cuff, also known as Mort's Art. He's a veteran, an activist, an editorial cartoonist, an editorial writer, and just a special and delightful human being. Oh, there he is up on the screen. Isn't that a good picture with his honor flight cap?
I still can't get over that he's going to be 87 years old.
Okay, well, he might not have wanted us to say what his age is.
I still
But
don't
I guess
believe
if
it.
you do, you could probably do the math and go backwards because he did say he enlisted when he was 17. Yeah, he was 17 years old. So I guess anybody could do the math and figure that out. But that's a really, that's a good picture. I want to make sure that I have a copy of that picture for myself.
We will get you a copy.
Yeah, we have to get a copy of that. But Mort also does a lot of writing, and he's a frequent contributor in the letters to the editor pages of the local newspapers here in South Florida, such as the Sun Sentinel and the Palm Beach Post. He also wrote an article the other day for a website called Chuck on the Right Side. And I just wanted to read a couple of things out of here because I didn't want to go into it too much on Veterans Day. I kind of wanted to focus on the meaning of Veterans Day, the positive aspects of it, and really highlight that, you know, veterans are real people.
Yes, they are.
You know, when they're done with their official service to this country and to the rest of the world, they're real people. They have interesting lives. You should get to know them, and so I wanted to focus on that. But he did write an interesting article, and I think it's very topical these days because we hear a lot of gobbledygook, doublespeak, nonsense about scandals in the White House, scandals in the State Department. These are not scandals. These are outright lies. And the men and women of this administration are not taking credit and owning up to their own lies. So we have nobody accountable to us as far as our elected officials and those appointees of the elected officials. There's nobody accountable. Its senior administration official said this. An observer of the diplomatic proceedings said that. Well, who are those people?
No one getting fired.
Nobody's losing their jobs over it. So when we hear the expression, the White House speaks, what does that really mean? And so here's something that Mort writes. Has anyone noticed the White House, located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., is an edifice made of brick and mortar that has been painted white? It is a mute structure. It can't speak. Therefore, statements represented as coming from the White House are either statements coming directly from the president or indirectly from his authorized spokespeops. Are you with me so far?
With ya.
Why should we be expected to believe any pronouncements that are veiled in anonymity as the authoritative word being handed down from the White House? If the information being sent from on high to the citizens of the United States, who, by the way, are the sole owners of the edifice and have hired its occupants for a limited engagement, is indeed meant to be taken as official, then it should be in the form of an official document signed by its originator. Are you still with me? What's the problem here? The problem is that old bugaboo, the issue of transparency in government. There never seems to be any shyness about taking credit for successes, but there seems to be a great deal of reticence when it comes to attaching a name to statements or pronouncements whenever there is concern from on high that the message is calculated to either generate controversy or worse, is likely not to be received with overwhelming acceptance. And so as a natural born citizen of the United States of America and part owner of that edifice located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, I have appointed myself, this is Mort, as a committee of one to hereby demand that every official statement or pronouncement that emanates from the White House be signed by the individual who sent it, accompanied by his or her official title. Thus, a name and title that indicates that individual's identity and official relationship to the president will be established and made known to the public. What do you think of that? That's our Mort.
Pretty good writings there.
Okay, that's our Mort. That's
Which
Mort
Mort?
Cuff.
That guy?
Mort Cuff. Yeah.
That guy Mort?
Yeah, that's our guy who was sitting right next to me yesterday. and the website where this was posted, and I didn't read the full article, but it's called chuckontherightside.blogspot.com, and there's a lot of good patriotic material on this website. I hope you'll all check it out, and it's under the heading of Mort's Meanderings.
Very good.
Which I really like, and I think it's hugely important when on a daily basis, especially with Benghazi, with the IRS, with the Obamacare rollout, daily lies coming out of the administration, we need to know who we can hold accountable for these lies. And it's just as simple as that. And so I applaud Mort for, pointing out the obvious to all of us. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right.
Mort is good. You can never argue with Mort.
You can never, well, you can actually, and he's fun to argue with, but he always wins because when he thinks that he's going to lose, he just turns on this, hey, I'm a cute old guy kind of smile and charm, and then forget it. You're just like, okay, roll over. All right, Mort, you win. That's it. All right. So I just wanted to review that a little bit and highlight something from somebody who's very special to us. And I'm going to keep it local now also because another one of our favorite topics here on TrentoVision.tv, 1470 AM on WNN, Boca Raton, Florida, where FAU University is located. We are frequent critics of the student body and the administration.
And particularly one student organization
at
known as
FAU,
the SJP, the Students for Justice in Palestine, which even the limp-wristed ADL put on the top 10 anti-Israel lists.
That's
for the
right.
year. Even though J Street criticized some of their other top 10s. Hi, J Street. Hi, Scott. Scott, if you're listening.
Okay.
Scott, it looks like your people are having, or not, your former group, Hillel, is co-sponsoring. I'm surprised they're actually letting this on.
I know, I
over
can't
at your
believe
former campus. But tell us about this, CJ.
All right. Well, first of all, I have to say that I made a bet with myself before the show started today if Damon was going to be able to make it through the whole show without saying
I can't. If
J
we're talking about
Street
FAU.
and without saying Scott Brockman.
Hi, Scott.
Big shout out to Scott. Hope
And
you're enjoying
for
your
those of you-
anti-Israel activities over at J Street.
Yes, for those of you who are not regular listeners and are not familiar with what certain groups are, J Street, for those of you who don't know, is an anti-Israel fake pro-Jewish group that has infected a lot of the campuses and a lot of the liberal synagogues around the country, and particularly in Southeast Florida.
Yeah.
And they've basically they've really infiltrated to spread the the pro-Palestinian point of view on Arab-Israeli relations.
Yeah.
And that's about it. But Scott Brockman used to be the leader of Hillel, and we'd had a couple of problems over there. He doesn't like when you point out jihadis live in your face.
That's right. He's very tolerant of the jihad and not so tolerant of those of us who want to tell you that there is one going on.
Right. So,
but
they're doing something good tonight.
But
Tell
they're
them about it
doing
real quick,
something
'cause we're getting
good.
short on time.
All right, they're doing something good over at FAU, and it's sponsored by Stand With Us, which is an excellent Zionist organization. Locally on campus, it's the Owls for Israel. This is a really good group of students that we're going to pay more attention to. Hillel is sponsoring. Christians United for Israel is sponsoring. And the subject of the event is How I Found Peace from a Lifetime of Hatred, the life-changing story of a 28-year-old British Pakistani Muslim. His name is Qasim Hafiz, and he's going to be speaking at FAU tonight, November 12th at 7:30 p.m. And where do they go? Let me see, where do they go to sign up for this?
Well, it says the RSVP was by last week, but this is a public university.
Right.
So anyone in our audience that wants to go, I highly recommend you go.
Yeah.
It is a public university. So if you're out there, it's Tuesday, it's tonight.
Yeah.
Head on over to 777 Glades Road. It's right on the FAU campus at the Student Union. If you make it to the Student Union, you're there.
Yeah, and if you go to standwithus.com, you can look up the invitation there. And a little background on Kasim. He grew up in an extreme anti-Semitic, anti-Israel views, and harbored an intense hatred for Israel. Today he is proud to speak up for Israel and call himself a Zionist. So, and he wants to share that journey with the students at FAU. Yeah, so that's really, it's always good to hear from people like that, like Brigitte Gabriel would be another one, Act for America. Noni Darwish, who grew up in anti-Semitic Egypt. You know, we need to give these people a voice. So they're doing something positive at FAU, and in
so
fairness,
let's let the people know. Every now and then it happens.
We want to let people know about it. But FAU is
that's one thing.
That's just one campus here in the United States. And now we're going to go to another campus here in the United States.
Oh, is this pathetic?
Oh my goodness. We are going to Washington University in St. Louis.
Ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. And
what's the title of the article?
And the title of the article is When Opposing Jihad is Racist. And can you say that for me? Do we have a visitor in the studio who could say that for me?
Opposing jihad is racist.
There you go. Oh,
you
yeah.
are a bunch of Islamophobes.
Islamophobia has broken out at Washington University of St. Louis, sparking outrage, grief, an open solidarity forum, and an avalanche of groveling apologies from university administrators. This article is appearing today on frontpagemag.com. Written by our good friend Robert Spencer of Jihad Watch. And
I hate that man so much I cannot even begin to tell you.
Is there a way that we can make that picture on the article a little bit? Can you
Yes.
make that bigger?
It is
Because
coming up.
let's show the people where the controversy is.
I will do that for you, CJ.
Okay.
This is
Now,
so
there was-
offensive. I do not even know. I do not even know how these children were able to go to school.
Some students at Washington University had a Halloween party. I'm sure there were a lot of Halloween parties all across the
Yes,
country.
because they're a bunch of pagans as well as...
That's right, that's right. So what we have here in this picture, for those of you who are listening on the radio, is we have one student dressed up as possibly...
It looks like a Bin Laden
He
wannabe.
looks like, yeah, he looks like either he's supposed to be Bin Laden or some other kind of
You're run-of-the-mill jihadi.
Or your run-of-the-mill jihadi.
He's got the beard, he's got the head scarf on.
And-
He looks like he's wearing some ratty camo. He looks like a jihadi.
He looks like a jihadi, and he is surrounded by other students dressed as United States servicemen.
Hardly, but that's what they're supposed to be.
And one of them is holding up a big American flag behind the jihadi. And the other students are dressed up as soldiers or Marines.
Or Rambo. from
Or
the original.
Rambo type. You know, they're Rambo types. And what are they doing? They're
They have
pointing.
these very dangerous-looking weapons. Tell us about these dangerous weapons. CJ.
Yeah. We ought to have gun laws on campuses because these are terrifying. These are water guns.
Yeah, they look like super soakers.
Actually, it's like
yellow, red, and green.
and orange and
they're clearly water guns.
these are tutti frutti colored water guns, people. And these guys have captured and cornered a jihadi.
Yes. Halloween. This is
On Halloween. I mean, it's not like they're dressed up to make a political point
Right.
At an inappropriate time. I mean,
Guys,
these are
let's-
Halloween costumes.
All right, let's hit this story because we're behind on our schedule.
Okay, well, apparently, this was very controversial for the students over at Washington University. And the Student Life newspaper photograph went viral and became an emotional trigger for Muslim students, bringing back memories of personal experiences with racism. Oh my goodness.
Terrible, terrible, terrible.
Oh my goodness. Victims. There's victims of racism at Washington University. And so they have launched a protest against hatred, against racism, against Islamophobia. And who is this girl?
Oh, that must be Maro Jahangiri.
Yeah, posted a screenshot of the horrific photo. Yeah, because it's horrific.
Frankie?
Actually, it's horrific to capture a jihadi. That American soldiers should capture a jihadi.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Okay.
So tell us about this person.
So she's a very interesting person because she was an intern.
Hold on, no. But who is she with? What group is she with?
Oh, what group is she with? Islamophobia, rampant at
with
Washington
the MSA.
University. She is a student of the Muslim Student Association.
Of Muslim Brotherhood organization.
Founded by the Muslim Brotherhood to expand their tentacles into all aspects of civic life here in the United States of America. Founded by the Muslim Brotherhood, the Muslim Student Association.
Now you can tell us what else she did. Now tell us what this lovely lady from the MSA did as well.
Okay.
Who she interned with.
Okay, well, she interned with the Department of Homeland Security. It seems to me that we already have covered a lot about the Department of Homeland Insecurity, which also has been infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood. And let's see what she complains about here. Called on students to raise hell about this and complained, I find it hard to believe that this was a black man or a gay man or a Latino man with guns aimed at his face, that black students or queer students or Latino students would not be up in arms. But because this costume did not represent my friends' communities, it did not warrant a response. Now, wait a minute. Are we talking about pointing guns at Muslims who happen to be shopping in the grocery store with their children? No. What we're talking about is pointing guns at jihadis, at men who look like Osama bin Laden, who the last time I checked was not a friendly member of any community associated with Washington University or any of racist Islamophobes. So
racist Islamophobes.
Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. The MSA president was not mollified by the administration's response to the Muslims' outrage. And so now all the groveling begins.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable that a Halloween costume can get to the, that this is what they have, what the MSA has come to, and they cares. I mean, Cowboys and Indians, I guess we can't play that anymore. Cops and robbers,
no, you can't play that Cowboys
anymore.
And Indians.
And after Obamacare, you certainly can't play nurse and doctor anymore.
Wait a minute.
I mean, that'll definitely be, by next Halloween, you won't want to be a doctor come Halloween.
That's right, that's right. Somebody will stop you and beg for treatment.
Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. So is it racism? Is it Islamophobia?
Of course it is.
Yeah, what is racist and Islamophobic about it? And what do you think the university's response should be?
To kick MSA off campus because they're a terrorist organization, but we all know that's not going to happen.
No, because that would happen in a sane world.
Right. Well, in a sane world, but that's not the one we live in. All right, let's move it along.
That's not the one we live in.
We got we have a guest that's waiting to come on soon, so let's hit these last couple stories real quick. And then we're gonna have Andy come on.
All right, what I wanted to say next is what we have here with the administration's groveling response to this, apologizing. It's really quite disgusting. What we're going to have here in the United States pretty soon is something that they're already developing in Europe. And that is the thought police.
Yes.
It's not just that you can't, it's not just what you can't say. It's not just what you can't do. You're not even going to be able to think it. You're going to be able to be arrested for potentially thinking things that could be hurtful or offensive to other people. And why it should be hurtful or offensive to anybody that we want to capture is Osama bin Laden and jihadis who threaten Americans and free people all over the world. I don't know. But the European Union is getting its act together in their parliament to enact laws against freedom of speech. They're basically setting up a thought police section of the European Union, and they're making it criminal offenses punishable by prison, aggravated crime, group libel, defamatory comments made in public and aimed against a group or members thereof. The following acts will be regarded as criminal offenses punishable as aggravated crimes: incitement to violence against a group and group libel. Now, understand this. This does not apply to the imam who speaks at his mosque on Friday and says, go kill Christians and Jews. That's not considered incitement.
No.
It's considered incitement to say that there's an imam in that mosque over there who is telling the people who attend that mosque to go out and kill Christians and Jews. That's the incitement.
Yes. You've got this down pat, woman.
Okay. And these types of, forget even blasphemy. It doesn't even start with blasphemy, because you're going to be criminally liable if you're even suspected of wanting to open your mouth and say something, if there's even the possibility of it. And what do these blasphemy laws, which, by the way, this is what the OIC does at the UN. This is what Hillary Clinton and her MSA former assistant, Huma Abedin, advocate. Blasphemy laws, not just in Muslim countries, but all over the world. And our White House, that edifice, who won't attribute anything that comes out of there to any actual person, actually supports having blasphemy laws in the United States.
You're
not
crazy.
Not for anybody who wants to pee on Christianity in this country, but it's for anybody who wants to say anything truthful about Islam. And let's just say this: under the blasphemy law, murdering Christians will still be legal, because according to Sharia it is. But,
What? I'm going to quote
but telling you about it will be a crime.
Say that again.
Okay. Under the blasphemy law, and that is Sharia, murdering Christians will still be legal, but telling you about it will be a crime.
That's insane. You know what? Now I'm going to quote a very popular Republican, at least popular among the Democrats right now. Very large man. Yes, he's a very popular Republican among the Democrats.
Yeah.
He just won by a landslide in New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
And his name is Christie, and I'm going to quote him. This, quote, Sharia law business is crap, and I'm tired of dealing with the crazies, meaning people like you and your boss, Tom Trento. So blustered Christie. Bluster is the New Jersey governor's default mode. It has certainly served him well. And just so you guys know about Mr. Christie, anyone who's actually contemplating this guy, if you're a Republican,
he'll be the Republican nominee in 2016,
just realize
for sure.
that that's exactly what the Democrats would love you to do.
That's right. That's
Okay?
right.
Because they love the guy.
They love the guy, and so does CARE, by the way.
And, that's what we got to bring up. We're not going to get into the 4 appointments because we're running short on time. In fact, real quick, while I'm getting Andy on the line, go ahead, and just so people know, we're going to go ahead and tell you that Christie was inducted into CARE's best list for...
CARE is the Council on American Islamic Relations.
Yes. So...
And CARE loves him, and they inducted him into, what do they call it?
The best list for fighting Islamophobia.
The best list for fighting Islamophobia. And why is Christie such a staunch fighter against Islamophobia? Well, it could have something to do with the fact that he has a minimum of 4 Hamas supporters working in his administration who he appointed to his Muslim Outreach Council. That could have something to do with it.
You think?
And we'll have to do another show on Christie because obviously he's not going away from the news.
No, he's
so
not.
we have to, we're gonna have to go into
We'll
his.
save some of our Chris Christie ammo for another time because I have to get Andy on the phone.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what I'm going to do is why don't you go ahead and read that article just for a minute.
Which one?
The Hamas about
about the.
Hamas. Go ahead
Okay,
and do that
go
while
ahead
I
and.
get Andy on the phone.
Okay. All right.
And then we could see exactly why he was inducted into CARE's best list. How's
Yeah,
that? Go ahead and
okay.
do that.
Well, this doesn't go back very far. I mean, this only goes back to like 2012. Okay. The Muslim Outreach Committee was formed after New Jersey Muslims were gravely offended. There it is again. You cannot offend Muslims.
Blasphemers.
Yeah, you cannot offend Muslims in this country. And frankly, if you're not a Muslim and you're breathing, then you are offending Muslims in this country. But they were gravely offended by NYPD surveillance and the presumption that New Jersey Muslims might be terror prone. And the best way to disprove all that was with an outreach committee containing such non-terrorism advocating folks such as these. How about Imam Mohammed Qatanani, whose deportation was being sought by the Department of Homeland Security, shocking, for not disclosing on his green card application that he was arrested and convicted by Israel in 1993 for his involvement with Hamas.
Unreal.
Okay. You have
I have Dr. Andy. I've been keeping him waiting, so let's run to him.
Okay, so I'm going to continue the list.
Yeah, we'll
day.
get back to Chris Christie because he's just a topic that keeps on giving. And thankfully, he's big enough to keep on doing that for
Okay,
us.
now I have to tell you. Now, a lot of people like to poke fun at Chris Christie for, let's say, what he looks like as an individual, and maybe he gains a little weight, maybe he loses a little weight, maybe he is a public figure, and it's bound to happen that somebody is going to take a picture of him having a sandwich or something like this. And I think it's inappropriate to pick on the guy for his weight or his looks or his size or anything like that, because there's enough stupidity coming out of his mouth and enough ridiculousness. Oh, there you go.
I couldn't help myself.
I know you wanted to put that. I know you wanted to put that up.
All right.
There's enough to enough to criticize about who he is and what he stands for. We don't have to poke fun of what he looks like. And here's another guy we're not going to poke fun at too much.
I hate this man. Why must you bring him back? You bring him in every month. I tell you every time.
Oh,
please, never Dr. Andy Bostom again.
Oh, no,
and you keep bringing him.
Yes, we do, because he's, oh my gosh, he's on the phone right now. Dr. Andy Bostom. And he has some interesting news for us today.
How you doing, Andy?
Can you hear us okay?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, hi. I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
I can hear you. Just so you know, Damon, I cannot get anything up on my screen, so you're going to have to put up a picture of Andy's book, which is coming out when, Andy?
Just did. Tell us about it.
Out. Guys, the ebook is already online. We're expecting at Amazon. We're expecting the print edition to be up and available shortly. I was blessed to work with my dear friend Diana West's husband, who's produced a couple of her books for self-publishing, and her husband did the same for me. And I'm very happy, and it's been a wonderful experience to basically be involved in self-publication.
Andy, I think you just broke a lot of people's hearts when you announced that Diana West is married.
Very happily married.
So tell us what is the title of your book?
It's called. It's got a very benign title called "The Mufti's Islamic Jew Hatred." Can Damon put the?
Oh yeah, I've already had it up.
Yeah, put it back.
Okay.
Take me off and put it back. Oh, that's all right. The Mufti's Islamic Hatred.
Islamic Jew Hatred.
Islamic Jew Hatred. Is there a such thing?
No, it's benign, and there's no theological anti-Semitism in Islam, as we've all been taught. The subtitle, which really owes much to Diana's husband, because he wanted it to be very straightforward, is what the Nazis learned from the Muslim Pope. Now, El-Husani was the ex-Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, and he really was the leading Muslim figure of his day, and the Nazis used to refer to him as the Muslim Pope. So this was the suggested title. The emblem on the cover shows the insignia that was used for the so-called Bosnian Muslim 13th SS Handschar Division. These troops fought for the Nazis in former Yugoslavia, and the Handschar was a local scimitar, or sword, that historically was carried by the Turkish Muslim forces during the half millennium that the region was having been conquered by jihad wars. This entire region in the Balkans was incorporated into the Ottoman Empire, including of course Bosnia. And so this insignia used to replace the Sigrunus that was SS that was worn by the Germanic SS division. So we thought that this was a very appropriate and rather striking symbol to include on the cover. And we also have some other interesting photographs from the era, including the Mufti cavorting with these were Muslim volunteers fighting for the Nazis from Azerbaijan, and we have a picture showing them at the Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha, and the Mufti is celebrating this festival with them. And then we also have a very appropriate snapshot. Actually, it comes from a Time Life book about the SS, showing Bosnian Muslim recruits actually reading the very pamphlet that I had translated, and which is the heart of the entire analysis. It's a proclamation that the Mufti had written in 1937. Some call it a fatwa, that was really directed at the entire global Muslim Ummah, to galvanize their support for the jihad against the Jews of historical Palestine. And what I noticed, to a certain extent to my shock, as we've discussed this before, was that the pamphlet itself, which was about 3,250 words, really lays to rest this trope that the Mufti's ideology was somehow, if not Nazism itself, given his collaborations with the Nazis, some very bizarre Nazi-inspired formulation of Islam. And so I was expecting, to see some sort of boilerplate extracts from Mein Kampf about the Jews, or some of the Nazi racist literature about the Jews, or perhaps even the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and maybe, the Nazis were very big on promoting Christian anti-Semitic motifs. They had lots of passion plays and sort of enforcing the deicide allegation. I expected to see very concrete examples of this within this proclamation, if that depiction of the Mufti's ideology were in fact true.
Right.
And it turned out that zero, literally, Zero of those motifs were present in what's not that short a proclamation. Like I said, it's 3,250 words roughly. And
we have a picture of it that you'd sent me up right now. Is that the Islam Judenrein? Judentum?
Islam und Judentum.
Yes, I have a picture of it up as we're speaking right now.
So
those would be the moderates?
Yeah.
Well, it was very interesting. So the content was purely Islamic, and I actually did an analysis of the content, just to sort of to enumerate specifically what was in it, and again after demonstrating that there was literally nothing from these other sources, you could demonstrate just by doing a survey that there were 10 explicit references to motifs from the Quran, for themes from the Quran, including 11 separate verses that were quoted, if not entirely, certainly in extract. There were additional 6 implicit references to the Quran. There were 2 explicit citations of the Seerah. These are the earliest pious Muslim biographies of Islam's Prophet Muhammad. And there were 5 implicit references to the Seerah. And then there were 2 major explicit citations with quotation of hadith, accompanied by 3 additional implicit references to the hadith literature.
Andy,
and so, as I had exchanged with Damon earlier today, it just turns out that one of the hadith that was quoted pretty much in full in this proclamation from 1937 by Haj Amin al-Husani was repeated apparently on November 8th by the PA in relation to this allegation that's been floating around about Arafat potentially having been poisoned by polonium. And in fact, that has been debunked by a lot of medical scientific analyses, certainly put into question as very unlikely by a number of independent analyses, forensic analyses. But regardless, so the PA was saying that Arafat's poisoning was just like the poisoning of Muhammad, which of course is a canonical Islamic motif from the Hadith and also discussed in the Seerah, which al-Husani's 1937 proclamation quotes, at least from the Hadith version, almost in full.
Oh my goodness!
Do you want me to go ahead and play that video, Andy?
To the book, to the ebook which just came out, and the print version, which will be forthcoming in a couple of days.
Andy, can I ask you this? You're familiar with the concept of blasphemy laws?
Yes.
If we had blasphemy laws in the United States right now, wouldn't your book qualify as Islamophobic and blasphemic, and wouldn't you be arrested for this?
Well, it's an interesting hypothesis that you raised there, because it does in fact often happen that people like myself, like you guys, are accused of quote unquote blasphemy by simply quoting canonical Islamic texts, or even more curiously, expert Islamic legists, imams, theologians, whatever you want to call them,
right,
quoting those texts. In other words, if you or I quote imams quoting canonical Islamic texts, which have these motifs, like Muhammad's poisoning by a Khaybar Jewess,
right,
or simply quote the texts ourselves. Of course, when we quote the text ourselves, we're told that it's out of context, as if there's some sort of magical context that we're missing by actually reading the texts. And so you're absolutely right. So if you quote these things, or you quote, again, important contemporary imams quoting these texts, yes, you can be accused of blasphemy.
Okay.
Did you want to go ahead and play the video that you sent me?
Oh, go for it.
All right, you sit tight. I'm going to go ahead and play
Okay,
that.
before you start, it's 45 minutes after the hour. You're listening to WNN 1470 AM, TrentoVision.tv. You can watch us on TrentoVision.tv, on the UnitedWest.org, on the TeaPartyCommunity.com, on Bare Naked Islam. And if you want to know more about those European plans for blasphemy laws and the thought police, go check out Bare Naked Islam. Bonnie's got a really good long article on it over there. If you happen to be listening to the show while you're in the car or while you're working at your desk and you want to see the videos that we're going to show and you want to see Andy, then check out our archives at youtube.com/theunitedwest and you can click on any show. All right.
CJ, just real quick, CJ, if folks want a really simple, quick primer, I think I called it something like the 10 basic points of Islamic blasphemy law and its application. I can send you guys a link to something that I put together back in the spring.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay.
All right,
Cool,
great.
yeah.
Thank you. All right. So this is the PA, right?
This is
That we're going to be watching, and this was
Right, this is the moderate PA. This is
yeah,
the
this is
moderate
the
PA.
this is Israel's
It's not
Partners
us, it's
for
moderate
Peace.
PA.
Yeah. Translated by Palestinian Media Watch, right?
Okay, hold on. Let me just rewind it just a touch. Okay, so this is the PA Minister of Religious Affairs. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading it along. Arafat was, in fact, let me bring my friend in. Abdullah, come here. Yes. Arafat was poisoned by Jews like Islam's Prophet Muhammad.
Yasser Arafat
died a martyr.
ولم يكن لدينا أدنى
We
شك
don't have the slightest doubt that they
لم يكن
killed
لدينا
him.
أدنى شك بأنهم قتلوه بطريقة أو بأخرى
One way or the other, they killed him.
حتى
Even
رسول الله
Allah
صلى الله
messengers,
عليه
Muhammad,
وسلم
people,
قتلوه بالسم
the Jews killed him with poison.
عندما حضرته الوفاة
When he
صلى
was
الله
dying,
عليه
he said to
وسلم
his wife
قال لعائشة،
Aisha, 9 years old,
إني لأجد
I feel
ألم
the same
السم
pain I felt from the poison
الذي أكلته
that I ate at Khaybar, the Jewish village.
أكله
Poison that he ate
خيبر.
at Khaybar.
وظل
He
يألم له
continued to feel the pain
ويتأثر
until he
به
died.
حتى مات إني لأجد ألم
I feel the
السم
same pain
الذي
I felt
أكلته
from the
بخيبر
poison that I ate at
حسبك
Khaybar. Be satisfied, Almighty One, O Martyr
أيها
Arafat,
العظيم أيها الشهيد يا أبا عمار أنك قتلت
that you were killed the same way Allah's
كما
messenger
قتل
was killed.
وكما أصيب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يكن لدينا
We
شك
have no doubt, and I don't think there is a single one among us
لديه ذرة شك
who has the slightest doubt that Arafat was killed.
وكلنا
Deep inside, we all know who killed him.
قتله
The Jews.
Oh my goodness. I think it was Suha. I think she did it, and where is she with those $8 billion that the United States gave Arafat to create a just Palestinian society? That's who killed him, if anybody killed him.
CJ, it's interesting that you mentioned Suha because my understanding is that from her most recent, comments about this alleged poisoning is that she didn't think that he was poisoned at all, let alone by polonium. But that's I don't know if she's made other pronouncements.
The most recent one I heard from her was she decided that it was the Israelis who killed him. And I think that was just to deflect attention from herself, because what she was saying was, who else would have a reason to want him dead? Like, don't look at
but
me.
Wasn't there something specific about how she denied the allegation of at least of the polonium angle?
It could be, yeah, it could be, yeah. But I think the timing of it has more to do with the threats against Israel coming out of the PA at the time when John Kerry is spending so much time over there trying to force Israel to make more concessions to the Palestinians and threatening Israel with violence and isolation if Israel doesn't capitulate to some kind of like warped and weird kind of peace agreement with the Palestinians. And this whole notion of Arafat being poison is just a way to stir everybody up.
Third Intifada style, like Jim
Third
Carrey,
Intifada style, yeah. I think that's what all that's about.
This is a classic form of incitement, and that's why, in all seriousness, the analysis of really the godfather of the Palestinian Arab movement and this fatwa, again, he was using this to galvanize the entire global Muslim ummah. But these are stock and trade motifs that have been used since time immemorial to arouse hatred of the Jews. And in fact, as I point out again, in all seriousness, in the monograph, you could go back to a very important society in early Islam, in the middle of the 9th century, in the seat of the then Abbasid Caliphate, and find that it was the Muslim ruler al-Mutawakkil was well aware that despite the fact that the Jews were crushed and powerless, the Muslim masses harbored a much more intense hatred towards them than towards the Christians. And he was concerned about this because, after all, there were powerful Christian enemies outside the Abbasid Empire, and there were a lot of Christians that potentially could be aroused under Islamic rule, and the Jews, were not in any way a political threat, and so he commissioned one of the most learned men of his era, Al-Jahiz, to try and rouse up anti-Christian sentiment and write an anti-Christian tract. And what Jahiz noticed he confirmed his ruler's observation about how the Muslim masses felt about the Jews. Again, they harbored more hatred towards the Jews than towards the Christians. And he theorized that it was due to two things. One of which was this Quranic verse, Quran 582, which again Haj Amin el-Husseini also invokes in his fatwa. In fact, it's the final Quranic verse that he invokes. And it's the idea that in fact it's the Jews that harbor the most intense hatred of the Muslims. That's the gist of Quran 582. So the 5th surah, the 82nd verse.
So you're getting what you
the other
deserve.
observation that Jahiz makes is that the Muslims also hate the Jews because of the quote-unquote rancorous relationship with Muhammad, which of course in the end allegedly includes his poisoning by a Jewess from the vanquished Khaybar
She just
Jewish
overcooked
oasis,
the lamb,
which ultimately leads to his painful and protracted death, and sort of fulfills this notion that the Jews are prophet killers. And so here that's repeated throughout the Quran as an allegation against them, and here in the Hadith and in the Sirah it comes full circle where they actually kill Islam's prophet too.
Right.
So yeah, you're absolutely right, CJ, that this is stock and trade part of Islamic anti-Semitic incitement against the Jews, and in fact to bring this up now to gin up sentiments that may make the prediction of a third Intifada, which may or may not have already been planned, come true.
Right. Well, I have to say, if we want to give we want to be fair a little bit, and we should give some equal time to other forms of anti-Semitism. So let's just say that the Muslims learned very well from the Christians, who identified the Jews as Christ killers before there even was such a thing as Islam, and early Christians and early Muslims learned a lot of lessons from each other, and the main lesson for both of them was we got a good scapegoat in these Jews.
Yeah, absolutely. The animosities that come out of this sectarian milieu amongst Jews, Christians, and Muslims, there's obviously interplay. What's not appreciated, though, is that, of course, is that Islam developed its own tradition, and in fact, when in the Muslim narrative, when it comes to the killing of Isa, who's really a Muslim prophet, or his alleged killing, It's a very, very interesting way to diminish and in the case of the Jews certainly to demonize, but in the case of the Christians maybe more to diminish Christianity, because the narrative goes like this: that of course Isa is not the Jesus of the Gospels. He's really a Muslim prophet. And so what happens when the perfidious Jews, and that's how they're identified in the Quranic commentary. So in the Quran, you learn that Isa was never crucified. So what happened to Isa? Well, in fact, the perfidious Jews wanted the Romans to capture him and kill him, and in that day it would have been by crucifixion for his sedition. And what happens is that Allah, as the Romans are coming, sucks Jesus up out of his abode and replaces him with a body double. This is sort of a Gnostic Christian motif that somehow found its way into Islam. And so the body double was in fact killed. And of course the perfidious Jews don't know this, and they're very happy, and the stupid Christians believe it. So where is Isa? Is he up getting virgins? What is he doing? Well, he's going to come back about 40 days before the end of time, and he's going to, at that point, be a full-throated, identifiable Muslim. And in the Hadith, it says he's going to break the cross, kill the pig, and end the payment of the jizya, the Quranic poll tax, which means that, again, he's coming back as a full-throated Muslim, and those Christians that don't convert to Islam are going to be slaughtered. So as my friend and pastor, my pastor, Mark Dury, explained to me, said, gee, Christians might not appreciate that the job description of the Muslim Jesus is to destroy Christianity.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy, we have about 3 minutes left in the show.
It's a little, I wanted to ask you one other thing. I wanted to ask you about this news article that came out in the last couple of days, in which it's identified that there were many Nazis at the end of World War II who converted to Islam and moved to Egypt and Syria and other places in the Middle East. Do you know anything about that?
Oh yeah, there were droves of them, in fact, and many of them became pious Muslims. Some of them, it clearly was a facade to facilitate their hiding out and being protected, et cetera, et cetera. From war crimes tribunals, etc. But some of them became prominent Muslims, including someone who was closely affiliated, as I described in the certainly in the notes section in the Mufti monograph. This was Johannes von Leers, who became a pious Muslim convert. In fact, was very Islamophilic before his conversion. Over a period of 20 years, he wrote a treatise on the jihad in the middle of World War II. He when he finally escaped to Egypt after initially sojourning in South America, he was greeted by Haj Amin al-Husani, who had been a confidant of his, and now they were working together. And he formally converts to Islam under al-Husayni's aegis, and he adopts the name Omar Amin von Leers, and the Omar is for Caliph Omar, as von Leers wrote in a letter to a U.S. Nazi, H. Keith Thompson, because that was after Caliph Omar, who he describes as a bitter enemy of the Jews, and Amin, of course, for his buddy Haj Amin al-Husani. And he would go on to
Andy, we have less than a minute left.
We have less than a minute left to
go. Arab world, with Nazism or any residual Nazism in Europe, as a bulwark against communism and also for the destruction of the West. So he became really sort of a full-throated jihadist at the end of his life, and the CIA was actively following him and had a file on him.
Andy, we're gonna download the monograph and read it, and then have you back on. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's always such
I love you.
Yes, you're Damon's favorite.
I hate you. I cannot stand you. Please never.
The Imam doesn't like you so well. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. We'll see you soon. I forgot to mention.